What's up, everybody? It's your favorite host, Slammin' Sam. I hope you are in that seat and buckled in real tight. We're gonna go for another ride and smash that loud pedal here on In the Groove. We're back at it again. What's up, everybody? What's up, gang? Slammin' Sam here, your host of In the Groove podcast. Got another guest on you. I told you we're bringing you guys heavy hitters. We're going to talk about some circle track racing again this week. Surprisingly enough, we're going to talk about some drag racing. We're just going to talk about all of it just so you can get to know these people, these stars of the motorsports world. So just sit back, relax, and right now you can lay that seat back and put your tray tables back. Hopefully your glass is full. All right, everybody, let's get right into it. Another episode of In the Groove podcast. I hope you guys all enjoyed last week with Joe. But like I said, this week we got another heavy hitter. I hope anybody that went racing, you guys are in the shop, you guys are coming to another race, or, you know, your season is continuing. But there is one thing that motorsports in general we all need. We need a good voice. You know, we need someone who can really tell you that story when they're up in the tower or they're over the broadcast explaining what's going on that track. And this person that I'm about to introduce to you right now is someone that can tell that story. I mean, I'm putting him up there as a heavy hitter. I'm putting him up there next to the Tuccis, the Brian Loans. Well, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to hide this anymore. I've got a good friend of mine, Colton, online. Colton, how's it going today?
What's up, Sam? How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm just up here in North Dakota living the dream. Unlike you, I'm not at a racetrack, even though it looks like I am. But how's it going, man? What's going on?
Oh, man, it is hot here in North Central Texas. My goodness, I would much rather be in North Dakota now.
No.
It's about 110 degrees here today.
Hey, we were about 98, 99 today. I mean, that's the one thing about North Dakota people don't understand, is we get all seasons.
It's not always cold.
No, it's not always negative 30. It's not always negative 60. We get our hundreds, 105s, and it's like, all right. You know, you can't, I always tell people, I will thunder punch you in the throat if you ever say it's too hot. Like, yes, it does get hot up here, but if you complain about the hot, just know winter is right around the corner.
Send them here. We'll show them what hot really is, and then we'll send them back, and they'll be thankful.
Yeah. But for people that don't know, Colton, just explain who you are, what you're up to, and just who Colton really is.
Well, you know, I'm never been very good at tooting my own horn or anything, Sam, but I'm Colton Jordan. I'm originally from northeastern Louisiana, and I'm a drag racing announcer. Not only do I do drag racing, I do some dirt track racing stuff as well, some drag boat racing and stuff, and looking to get into some other forms of motorsports. But I am, from what I can tell, from what I've seen with my research, I am the youngest on payroll announcer for an NHRA national event sanctioned racetrack that has ever lived. I'm 19 years old. I started when I was just about to turn 18 years old in February of 2019. I started right here, right where I'm sitting, with that microphone sitting right there at this racetrack, the Texas Motorplex, you know, Billy Meyer's Palace. And, life never slowed down after that. You know, I was still going to school, senior in high school. When I come and auditioned for the gig here at the Motorplex, I got it. And I live 326 miles from this racetrack to my front door in northeastern Louisiana, and I would drive it every weekend. It was just about 5 hours, and I would drive it here. I would do the racing that I had to do. I would find a couch to sleep on Friday night if I had to, and I would do my race and then leave at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was, drive back to Louisiana and get ready to go to school on Monday. And, you know, life is in the motorsports world has been really good to me. You know, just got signed a couple of months ago as the new voice of the ADRL, which is really big for me, and I'm very excited about because, like I said, me being as young as I am, but I can still remember when ADRL was in its heyday, and ADRL back in the heyday was it. That's all. I mean, there was no greater drag racing door slammer sanctioning body in the world than ADRL. So to be a part of that's really big. To be a part of the Touring Outlaw Modified Series here in North Central Texas and Southern Oklahoma is really big for me as well. And I've just been really blessed, man. God has really blessed me, over my short career.
And that's awesome, especially like for a guy like myself who is, I can still say I'm young for another like couple of months until I turn 30. Because once you turn 30, the dirty 30, once that happens, I mean, you're old, period. Like, I don't care what anyone says. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm still young for a couple of months, but it's really cool to see. And it's something that I would really like to see is more younger people get into it, right? Because like I said, like I mentioned, with the Brian Loans, the Al Tucci's, I mean, you have guys like that, heavy hitters that have led the way for us and are perfect role models and examples for us to become, like you and, like me doing the podcast and yourself announcing, or, the West Bucks of the world and different things like that, the Joe Costellos of the world. They're all giving us this platform and are willing to help us continue to grow the sport. So it's really cool for me to, have you on. I had the Monday Morning Racer. I had him on. So it's really cool to kind of have like this group that all met down in Orlando here before the world was shaken by all this craziness. So it's really cool to kind of now have this group with Kyle, and we're all young guys that are continuing to see the sport. So especially in Texas, I got to ask the question, we're going to get it out of the way. How has it affected your whole race season with the coronavirus and all the craziness? Like, what has really changed for you and what's really going on down there?
I would say from about beginning to middle March, so about the 1st to the middle of May was really tough. There wasn't a lot of drag racing going on, really anywhere. There wasn't really much of anything going on anywhere. Texas was under a kind of shelter-in-place, stay-at-home order. Only get out if you have to. And just here about a month and a half ago, our wonderful Governor Greg Abbott finally, said, I think this is okay. We can swing this, go back racing. And we're very lucky here at the Motorplex. I'll tell you, I know we're supposed to get into stories later, but I have a quick story that I have to get out of the way first. So Governor Abbott's pilot, God rest his soul, I hope he's okay, contracted COVID-19. And Billy Meyer, for those of you that don't know, he owns the Texas Motorplex, but he also owns about 5 airports here in the state of Texas. So Governor Abbott calls Billy Meyer and says, Billy, the President of the United States is going to be in Odessa speaking at an energy conference. Can you fly me to Odessa to meet the President? And Billy was like, yeah, get on the plane, let's go. And so Billy flew the Governor of Texas to meet the President of the United States. They had a pretty good talk on the plane ride from Austin to Odessa. And so we're lucky that our track owner and the Governor of Texas have a pretty good relationship. They understand each other. Governor Abbott understands that Billy is not going to put anybody's life in harm's way. We're going to do this right. We're going to do it safely. And thank God, we've been able to do it so far, and we're going to keep doing it. We plan on it.
And that's what it's all about, right? Doing it safe. I know, like, we all, especially in the racing industry, we all want to just get back into it. I've said it time and time again. Like, let's just go racing, right? But when it hits home, it hits home. And that's the scariest part about it all, right? Is that we never really know what's going to happen. We never really know how it's going to happen or how it's going to affect our day-to-day life. But at the end of it, I think the racing community is stuck together, especially with the people that have had it or that currently do have it. Everybody is kind of really stuck together and, bonded together through the whole thing. But moving right along, because we don't want to talk about that too much, what is it like? So sports, I have family in Texas, so we're going to go back down to that. I have family in Texas. You know, I've been to Texas during the summers and different things like that. But what is it like? You know, you have your Friday night football down in Texas, but racing is huge in Texas as well. I mean, everything is big in Texas and Louisiana, right? I mean, some people are going to be mad that I said Texas and Louisiana, but it's rightfully so. In those two states, if they're going to do it, you know, you're not just going to make a sandwich down there. You're going to make a sandwich. So, what is it like in the racing community down there with such strong passion for the sports?
So when I was growing up, I started at about 9 years old racing with my dad at a small track in Monroe, Louisiana, called Twin City Raceway. And we were bracket racers. That's all me and Dad did. You know, I was the kid that adjusted the tire pressure, you know, would help Dad change the jets in the carburetor if it was too muggy outside and the car wasn't running good. You know, I was basically, for one thing, his cheerleader, and I kind of, you know, oversaw everything. So that's where my passion for drag racing really started. But drag racing in Louisiana, yes, it's a big deal, and there's a lot of people that do it, but it's not the caliber. You know, with all due respect to everybody in Louisiana, they know I love them. They know what I'm talking about. Bracket racing is a huge deal in Louisiana. There's not very much heads-up racing that goes on in Louisiana. So the fastest thing that I had saw up until 2014 was a dragster that went, I think, 4:14 through the 8th mile, like 185 miles an hour. And I thought that was the fastest thing that was on the planet until I went to Houston for the Spring Nationals with NHRA for the first time. And I was like, boy, was I wrong. But Texas, when I noticed when I made the transition from Louisiana coming over to Texas and watching, and bracket racing too, but especially heads up racing, index racing and all that, man, these guys are killer out here. I don't know what's in the water out here in Texas, but these guys have it. Jake Howard, I always say Jake is probably my first example of a just true good racer, because he's a bottom bulb racer and he will go up against any super pro dragster. You know, you can go off the top, he'll go off the bottom, and most of the time he's going to whip you. And it's just that caliber of racers. I have never seen as many, you know, 6-pack runs in bracket racing, you know, 6 out total. I've seen 3 perfect runs, you know, where they were trip zip, dead zero, you know, which is something that you didn't see a lot of where we were racing in Louisiana. So when I got here, it was kind of like a culture shock almost. I was like, you know, I'm used to racing and I'm used to tough competition, but these guys are nuts.
And that's cool that you mentioned that, the culture of racing, because I think even from where I am in BFE, North Dakota, there's still a different culture. And I mean, it is. There's really not much racing up here other than circle track racing, but there's a different culture. Even when you go down to like Minnesota, South Dakota, you know, Wyoming, there's a different culture of racing, but at the end of it, it's smashing that loud pedal. And I mean, and I think, and I can agree, whether, you know, you and I are, you know, very similar when it comes to the drag racing side of it versus now getting more into, I can say myself, getting more into the circle track racing. And that's something definitely to talk about with both of us. But I think it's really cool to see, you know, the difference even in those two different genres of racing, right? The different adjustments that they make, the different styles of, hey, you know, when I get to the track, this is what I have to do, versus the culture in drag racing is completely different. So, like, what's the biggest, I guess, difference for you that you may see with, you know, you getting into the circle track market?
So, and I say this jokingly all the time in dirt track racing, because I announce just strictly a modified class. We have a modified class that travels around southern Oklahoma and North Texas, and it's a really competitive class. I think one weekend, the first weekend of this year that we were able to race, I think we had 75 modified cars for 24 spots. So the dirt track racers are really, really passionate about what they do. But the biggest difference for me is, you know, in drag racing, if you go and, you know, make it down to the 330-foot mark and you go over and slap the wall, you're done for at least a week. At least. Dirt track racing, not so much. I've seen them, you know, get wadded up in turn one, and, you know, throw the caution flag out. They go out there, and those guys are just screaming at the safety guys, "Let me fire back up. I can do it. This car's going to make it. I'm going to make this car make it to the white checkered flag." It's insane. And those guys, they have heart, they have passion, and they can freaking drive.
So that's funny that you mentioned that. So here this past weekend at the Nodak Speedway, the local track that I go to and do some videos out of 3 and 4s with the drivers. One of the guys here this weekend kind of got into a little fender bender. Hey, emotions are high. And end of the year, points champion. He's leading points right now, and he gets into it with another driver, and so they go back and forth. And, a couple little door dings here, a couple little, hey, check you in the bumper, right? So they give both of them the caution, which, hey, cool, whatever. You gave both the caution. And if I get in trouble for this, oh, well, this is my podcast. But then you give the one driver, because he, gives him excuse the French, but gives him the butt tap. You give him the black flag. So as a media person, as a marketing person, this guy is known for parking it on the straightaway. So he's creeping down the straightaway, and what do you think? He's going to park it. So he turns right in front of the flag stand, keeps going, turns right into the hot pits, and he stops, and everybody's like, dude, he's going to park it and get out of it. Here it goes. No, what does he do? He lights it up and serves a nice 6-pack of Krispy Kreme donuts right on the front stretch, and then takes it, whips it around, and goes into the pits. And me as a media person, it's the best thing that can happen in the world at the track, right? You've got fans there at that moment that are now like, dude, I'm coming back next week if this is what just happened. It's no different than hockey. No one goes to a hockey game to see him score goals. No. Beat him up, smash him into the boards, and I want to see a fight. I want to drink beer and see a fight. It's no difference. So you talked about, how the guys beat up the cars. Trust me, when I first start going, no possible way could I imagine doing that. Spending all that time during the off season to come back during the season just to smash it up the first day. You've got all these sponsors. You've got all this. So it's kind of cool. And like I said, we have the IMCA Dakota Mod Tour that's up here. Really heavy hitting class. I know, and I'm going to say this one, I'm probably going to get in trouble for it. The slickster of Ricky Thornton Jr. was up here handing out a nice dish of sliders for everyone. There was no full hamburgers at all for anyone to have. Ricky Thornton was just, Slider Nation is what should be across the back of his. But then we have the wingless sprints, the ones that you can see behind me. That's a really super cool class. Less expensive class to get into, especially when it comes to the motorsports side of everything. It just gets so expensive when it comes to that. And, it's nice to see these nicer classes, these cheaper classes for people to be able to enjoy. Mad Bro Motorsports, located North Hill, Minot, North Dakota, the leading performance and parts store. If there's anything you need for your hot rod, give Slam & Sam and the gang a call. 701-720-7996. Again, that is Mad Bro Motorsports. 701-720-7996. On the way to being free. Can't thank Mad Bro Motorsports enough for everything that they do for all of our racers out there, supporting them and the local tracks with parts, fuel, and all their needs. But like I was saying, it is really nice to see different classes that are affordable for people to get into. I know, getting right into a drag car sometimes might not be, depending on what class and what, level you want to go to, it may not be that cheap, but it is nice to see, like I said, the wingless sprints, even the slingshots. We're getting more of those. I don't know if you guys have those up there for the kids. What was that? Yeah. So, you guys may call them something else, the midgets or anything like that. No offense to anybody, but, it's really cool to see, all these different all these different classes. And by the way, I've got a friend that's up there in Texas at RPM Speedway. His name is KR Rogers, the good old my buddy. It's your buddy KR. So I don't know if you've ever gone to the track, seen KR at RPM, but if you do, not yet. So maybe I need to come up there and we need to go over and talk to our buddy KR and see what he's got going on.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about affordable classes, and the modified cars are fast. They're fun to watch. It's great racing. But one of my favorite classes, believe it or not, are factory stock cars. Factory stock is a fun class. Not only is it rather cheap, rather affordable, but that's some tough competition too. I've seen them go 4 and 5 wide around turn 2. I mean, there's some tough competition in the factory stock class down here in Texas, and they are fun to watch. So that's one of my favorite classes in dirt track racing as well, is factory stock cars. They might not be the fastest thing, but man, they are fun to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a lot of fast classes, like you said. And then my favorite class, and if I could get into one of the cars, is a late model. I love late models. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there's a little bit more room. Like you said, if you bang something up in a late model, I don't know for sure, but maybe you don't feel it as much because you have such of a bigger car. You feel like you're in a regular, I have an 87 Foxbody that I drag race, and Foxbodies run the world in drag race, and especially in the outlaw world. I don't know if you get into much of that where you are, but I mean, down south, outlaw racing is where it's at pretty much.
Oh yeah, and like you said, Foxbody galore down here in New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana. Everybody wants Foxbody, and I understand why. They're light. It doesn't take much to make them run, and they're just cool cars, man. And the Motorplex has always been known for bracket racing. Big races, slick tires. But now, thanks to TJ Bailey, El Prepe, who used to do the track prep for NMCA and NMRA, and Cheeseburger Eric McClellan, our competition director here at the Motorplex, they have really got a combination together track prep wise. Say that 5 times fast. Track prep wise, that they can throw down. I would put them up there with the Wade Riches, the Kurt Johnsons. I mean, they are really good at prepping a radial track, and we have made some fast runs out here at the Motorplex with radial racing. And so we're trying to build that deal up and everything. We've got a pretty big, radial tire race coming up next year in March. That's going to be a fun race.
So what is that like for you now? You're coming off of, a lot of bracket racing, and then now to see that transition into heads up racing, and especially in, thanks to the TV show, shout out to all the people with Discovery, and then Duck Promotions and everything like that. So what is that transition like for you, as an announcer coming from, the bracket racing, explaining that to people that don't really understand it, and now seeing more of the transition into the heads up racing?
It's a lot easier to explain heads up racing to somebody because it's basically don't go red and first to the finish line wins. But I'm surprised I can still talk, because when heads up racing is happening, I can get into it. I can let loose, and I'm that way in the dirt track racing world too. I have to take a breath when I'm on the mic at a dirt track race, because I'll go, if I blow a lung out of my chest, people, I'm sorry, I apologize. Somebody get up here and stuff it back in me, I'll keep going. But heads up racing is fun. It's exciting because you can't race them on paper. You can't bring a time slip and say, well, my car ran this, and your car has only ran that, so I know I can beat you, therefore give me my money. That's not how it works in drag racing. You can't race them on paper. You have to get them on the racetrack, because you never know what can happen in drag racing. That's what I love about it. In dirt track racing, if you slip up, first, second lap, by the time you get to lap 17, 18, you can pretty much, try to get back in your rhythm. With drag racing, you can't miss a step, man. They will drive right around you as fast as they can. And but going from the bracket racing to the heads up racing was a little bit of a challenge at first, because I'm like, where's the dial in? That was my first question. And then I'll remember, oh yeah, these are pro mod cars. They're not bracket racing.
No, for sure. And then I've noticed as a racer myself, more into the grudge racing than bracket racing, you get some of these guys that are good bracket racers, and you get them on the tree, unless it's an arm drop or a flashlight, but if you get them on a tree, those guys know how to practice, and they can get in that groove, and let that trans brake loose or whatever they have to do if they're foot braking it, and they can really let it loose. And I've gone against some guys, and it's like, holy crap, you left me off the line, but thank God I've got a little bit more horsepower left in this tank, and I can drive around you on the top end. But
Let me grab my second button over here somewhere.
let me grab that scramble button, keep turning the valve so the nitrous keeps going through. But I got to ask, too, what is one of your favorite sayings when you're up on the mic? Like, if someone was at the track and was like, I wonder who that is. Is that Alan? Is that Brian? Is that Al Tucci? No, that's Colton, because he said this. What is one of those, like, memorable things that we can always count on you saying?
And I didn't realize it until I went back and listened to a live stream of a race that I did here a while back. But I say, oh, man, a lot. For some reason, I don't know why. It's like, I mean, if somebody does if somebody does a really good burnout, I almost say something else. If somebody does a really good burnout and there's smoke just boiling off of and everything, I'll go, oh man, look at the burnout. And it's like, and I don't know where it comes from. It's just, and I say gosh a lot.
I think you got a little, can you do that again? I think that was a little Al Tucci in there. I got to hear that one again.
It was, well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned Al Tucci, and being compared to Al Tucci, I mean, it's surreal to me, and I don't believe it, even if Al Tucci himself told me, which he has before. But Al Tucci was my mentor. I mean, Al Tucci was the guy. My very first race, big race, when I did an audition here at the Motorplex, it was just a test and tune day in February. It was cold, but just a couple of weeks after that, we had the Midwest Pro Mod Series here, and Al Tucci is the voice of the Midwest Pro Mod Series. And Andy Carter, the general manager here at the Motorplex, was like, I'm going to throw you in there with Al Tucci. And I said, huh? He said, I'm going to throw you in there with Al Tucci. I said, why are you throwing me to the wolves already?
Come again?
But I was like, yeah, who again? I knew who he was, but I just couldn't believe that I was actually going to get to do what, I love to do with Al Tucci. And from the moment we met, he's been a mentor to me. I can call him, and he's there for whatever advice I need. And he's told me, he said, kid, he said, I can't do this forever. He said, I'm going to die someday. He goes, and it's up to you. Keep it going. And when he said that, I mean, it was like it was a reality check for me, because if Al Tucci thinks that I can do this and that I can do it well, then it's got to be true. Because there's nobody better in drag racing. I love Brian Lawrence to death. Lee Sebring is a great guy, a great announcer. Joe Costello, Alan Reinhart, they're all great, but nobody, in my opinion, will ever match Al Tucci. Ever.
Because it's just a beautiful smoky burnout.
I asked him one time, I said, Al, I said, where did that come from? And he goes, no idea. I said, how do you go balls to the wall 24/7, 365 from the moment you step in there until the moment you get, he says, son, he said, I've got ADHD.
Well, I mean, I had him on the show, him and the limo guy, and I'm thinking, okay, it's going to probably be like a 30-minute show, right? No, I had to clip that and had 2 sections of it, because when Al gets on, Al's ready to go. I mean, I don't know how someone could possibly, I mean, I understand being a class clown. I understand having jokes and rebuttals for everything, but it is unreal, the stuff that he comes up with off the top of his head.
I asked him one time, I was like, Al, where do you come up with this stuff? And he goes, dude, he said, I'm 60-some odd years old or 50-some odd years old, however old Tucci is. And he goes, I've been doing this a long time. He's like, stuff just comes to you sometimes. Oh. And I'm like, yeah, but where did that come from?
Yeah, like what drawer back in there did you pull that out of?
He said, one of my signature things that I always mess with Al about is of course his movie references. And I'm like, Tucci, did you do anything else growing up except watch movies? And he goes, no, not really. And so a lot of his references are from movies, and we'll be sitting in the tower and working together, and he'll say some kind of movie reference, and I'm 19 years old. Tucci's 50 some odd years old. We'll just leave it there. And he goes, "You don't know what I'm talking about?" "No, Tucci. No, I was still swimming when that was happening. So no, I have no idea what you're talking about."
Come on, man. You're making me feel old saying that. Jeez.
I mean, but that's Tucci for you. And I wish, and one of these days I'm going to do it, and Tucci's not going to know it. I'm going to put a camera on Al Tucci in the booth, and you're going to get to hear some of the stuff that goes on when the microphones are off. Because you think Al Tucci's great when the microphone is on. Oh my God, you have no idea some of the things. I have literally sitting right here. Me and Tucci be working together, and we would see something out in the crowd that just cracked us up. And then Tucci would make a remark, and I would literally have to run out of the tower to make it to the bathroom before I peed on myself, laughing so hard at the crazy thing that he come up with. And that's what makes him the best in the world, in my opinion.
No, and it's really good to have that relationship with someone that, you can feel like you're at home, right? He feels like a big brother. Even when I see Al, I goofed up here at the World Series of Pro Mod, and that's something that we definitely need to talk about. But I goofed up there at the World Series of Pro Mod. I have my camera on, but I always put my lens cap back on. And so I pull out the camera, and I'm like, "Hey, Al, I need you. Whatever you got right now, I need you." And he looks at me with a straight face and goes, "Well, look, kid, you got to take the cover off. I know that joke. It's been happening to me for years." And I'm like, "Al, I don't mean that as a joke. I'm just letting you." And he's like, "Well, take the cover off and let's try again." And I'm like, "All right, Al, you got me." But he just comes, and granted, I totally forgot. I pulled the camera up and saw nothing. And I'm like, before I could even grab the lens cover, he's like, "Yeah, take the lens cover off." But even what he says, even when he's joking around, like on that one, he's like, the limo man got the clip of him. Scott got it where he's like a heavyweight boxer ready to knock you out, and it's like, we're watching drag racing, dude. Where do you come?
I was there, but he makes it relate somehow. He can take two things that are not nearly related, and somehow, boom, smash them together, and it makes sense. Oh, and I'm like, dude, what in the world? And I mean,
and if anyone else said it, you'd be like, "Nah, that wasn't good."
Yeah, no, that didn't work. But Al Tucci, anything that man says, it's just that we have, and most of the stories, I wish most of the stories I could actually tell, but some of them aren't PG rated. Oh. But I've had many, many great moments with that guy, and will continue to do so, hopefully, and until one of us is in the ground.
No, so like we said, in March, we went to I think, honestly, one of the greatest races that are going to continue to happen. Wes Buck has already announced 2021, Orlando, Florida, watch out. He said we're burning the place down, and I believe it. What was your experience like going down to that race and being a part of it? What was that like for you?
And Tucci said it best when me and him were talking there at the track. He's like, it's always special to be a part of something historical like this. He's like, there'll never be another first. He's like, there'll never be anything duplicated like this that works as well as it has this weekend. And he told me, he said, this is just where you want to be. He says, it doesn't matter if you're here announcing, if you're here with speed video like I was. But kudos to Wes Buck. I'm very great friends with Wes Buck. He lives here in Texas now. We finally got Wes Buck to come to Texas, and so he's a hometown boy now. But when you put something together like Wes Buck did, and Erica Enders tells you that it's the most fun race she's ever been a part of, and she loses first round and still says it's the most fun race she's ever been a part of, you really created something special. The atmosphere at that race, it was, if I could say it, if I could try to put it into words, it was like an NHRA national event mixed in with a grudge night at Orlando Speed World Dragway on a Friday night. It was just, the place was packed. There were racers there, like Ricky Smith was there. Jed Coughlin Jr. was there. Greg Anderson was there. Steve Matusik was there. Todd Tutterow was there. Stevie Fast Jackson. just these humongous names in door slammer drag racing, and I got to interview all of them. I got to sit and talk. Jeg Colton Jr. offered me a beer and a breakfast burrito, and I mean, and Jeg's been my hero since I was still walking around in diapers, making race car noises. But so to be a part of it, I just stood there when we first got there, and after the first session of qualifying for Pro Stock and Pro Mod, I literally just sat there in awe. I just stood there on the starting line as they were doing burnouts, and it was just like, I can't believe I'm actually here. I can't believe that I'm doing it in the vicinity that I'm doing it in with Speed Video. And it was just, by the end of the weekend, standing in the winner's circle with Jeg Colton Jr., with Alex Laughlin, it was a moment that I'll never forget. It's a moment that I'll be able to tell my grandkids when we're, celebrating the 25th anniversary of, the World Door Slammer Nationals, or the 50th World Door Slammer Nationals. I'll be able to tell them I was at the first. And I literally stood there on the starting line after the final rounds and cried because I was sad that it was over. And it was just, it just all hits you at one time. You're like, man, I can't believe that I was here. But it was the greatest race. And I have to agree with Erica. It was the greatest race I have ever been a part of, hands down, no questions asked.
Yeah, it was like, and I'm going to bring it home for you. It's like going to a college football game homecoming, right? That's what it was like. You had the car show, you had the fraternities, you had the music, you had the food, you had everything right there, but you still had an event. You walked in there and you could walk into the pits of, Erica. You could walk right up to her and talk to her. You could walk right up to Jeg Colton Jr., Alex Laughlin driving in both classes. You had all these heavy hitters in one spot, and yet you were still able to, have your fun and eat your cake or whatever you want to do, and you still got a show.
Yeah.
And then having the music at the starting line, like I said, it was like going to high school football on Friday nights, right? You got the food, you got the band, but there's still a show, but don't worry, we're still going to do all this. And even talking about it, I get goosebumps right now. I get the chills because it was one of those experiences that I think needs to happen more in the professional ranks. And go ahead.
Wes Buck's biggest deal with this is he says, God bless the nitro cars, God bless Top Fuel, God bless Funny Car. They're the kings of the sport. They're the fastest, moving vehicles on land. He goes, but you can't get the personalities, you can't get the hard work, the determination, the perfection of Pro Stock is insurmountable. You can't get that in any other class except Pro Stock. You have to lead with a clutch pedal, hit your shift points. You have to shift that car 4 times, perfect every single time, or the run is just complete trash. And NHRA for the past, I don't know, probably 5 years, wasn't giving Pro Stock and Pro Mod what they deserved. And Wes Buck said, here at my races, Pro Stock and Pro Mod are the stars of the show. You will be treated like kings and queens. We will roll the red carpet out for you every single time we have the chance to. And from the very beginning, I saw Top Fuel, I saw Funny Car, 2014, Houston Raceway Park Spring Nationals, but Pro Stock was where it was at. I stood behind Jeg Colton Jr.'s trailer, sat behind this trailer while he went up for qualifying round number 4. The asphalt was probably 120 degrees. I sat there as a 13-year-old kid and sat there for 45 minutes to an hour for Jeggy to make his run, make it back just so I could get an autograph. And Jeggy, I told him, I was like, Jag, I said, I never thought you was going to get back here, man. I've been sitting here for an hour waiting on you to get back. And he said, wow, really? Brought me and my best friend up into his hauler with him. We sat there and talked with him for a good probably 30, 45 minutes. Just like he had known me my entire life. And I was just this 13-year-old snotty-nosed kid who just wanted a picture with Jeg Colton Jr. And when I got to the World Door Slammer Nationals, I told him that same story, and he goes, I remember you. And so that's really cool. That's really special. And that race will forever go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Door Slammer drag race for, especially specialty race for Pro Mod and Pro Stock that there will ever be.
And I totally agree with you there, simply because I have a interview with, Greg Anderson. I have an interview with Greg Anderson, and to hear him say, it is good to finally run for hardcore cash. He said, it takes me back to, what I'm used to. It takes me back to what I grew up doing, when he was bracket racing and everything like that. Seeing Jason Line, seeing a more relaxed atmosphere with all of them, seeing them being able to, run and have total fun, enjoy themselves throughout the weekend. Like you said, if you mess up, if you miss, a gear or anything like that, you don't have all the huge publicity of it, even though you had guys like yourself, myself, and a slew of other media, guys out there, guys and girls out there. But it's really cool, like you said, to be able to talk to your star. I get googly-eyed over Erica. I mean, and if you're a man out there and you love racing, or even if you don't love racing and you don't, I'm looking at you right here in the camera and saying there's something wrong with you. But seeing her and being able to, we had a drink, when they had the drivers party, and just being able to talk to her throughout the weekend, and just being around, people that love the sport, and being able to high five and laugh and hug, and watching, the whole Caruso family go absolutely insane when they won, right? To be able to see all that.
Speaking of that, Mark Caruso almost tackled me on the starting line. Dude. I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, "Mark, you son of a gun, you finally did it, brother." And he almost tackled me. And I was like, "Mark, is your back okay with it?" Because he had just had back surgery from the crash in Bristol, and he was still recovering. I was like, dude, I was like, you got to be careful. And I texted him, the next day, and I was like, "How's your back?" And he goes, "Man, it's sore. His head hurts."
Well, and I was like, "Yeah." I think everything on Mark was sore. After that night. In the words of Mark Caruso, walked into Sunday feeling cute, might win $50K.
Mm-hmm. And getting a hug from Erica after doing an interview with her, she just hugged me and thanked me for being there, and it was like Erica, 3-time Pro Stock World Champion, and for her to say it's the most fun race she's ever been a part of. Man, West Buckingham, they've got something. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I would do the exact same thing next year. Don't change a thing.
Put it back on the napkin. Put it back on the napkin right now. Start planning it, and we will see them again. I
don't even know if I would start planning it now. I would probably just wait the 82 days again like they did the first time, because it seemed to work out pretty good.
Man, unbelievable. What's up, everybody? I'm going to tell you the easiest way to start your podcast right now. It's called Anchor. Go over, download the Anchor app, get on their site, and start your podcast today. You don't have to have any listenership already. You can start from scratch. It's going to distribute all of your podcasts to the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Has a creative tool. You can edit from your computer or your phone if you're on the go. It's just really the easiest way to start your podcast. So if you haven't done it already, go over and download the Anchor app and get started on your podcast today. So what is your schedule going to be like for the rest of the 2020 season? Are you looking already into the 2021 season? What is that all starting to look like for you? As an announcer, you have to make a schedule. Unlike me, where it's like, hey, I can't get to this event, I can get to another event. So what is that like, right now in this process, in this state of time? What is that like for you, kind of planning what your next move is?
Stressful. It's because you never know. When we got into this deal, my biggest question was, how is this going to change the sport? How is this going to change how we do things in the future? And that's a scary thought to have sometimes. But I'm blessed. September and October are looking, pretty packed for me. First weekend of September, we are here at the Texas Motorplex. My dad is actually coming from Northeast Louisiana. I haven't raced with my dad in 3 years. And so Dad is coming to run a bracket race here at the Motorplex. I'm going to crew for him just like I, used to do back in the good old days. So that's the first weekend. of September of next month, and second weekend of September I have 2 dirt races in 2 days to do. One at Boyd Speedway and one at Kennedale Speedway right here in Texas. And third weekend of September I will be at Virginia Motorsports Park for the Shakedown Nationals with Speed Video. I'll be doing some interviews with some Radio versus World stars and Pro Mod stars at Shakedown. And then October, if you're anywhere near St. Louis or Dallas, ADRL is coming toward you in October. The first weekend of October, the ADRL will be here at the Motorplex. And then I fly to Valdosta for 2 weeks for Donald Long's races, Duck X Productions, Sweet 16, and No Mercy. And I'll be doing interviews with Speed Video with the Radio versus World Pro 275, X375 stars at South Georgia Motorsports Park. And then finally, the final weekend of October, I will jump back on a plane and head to St. Louis, Missouri for the final ADRL race of the season. Only having 5 races this year, which is we're blessed to, because there for a long time we weren't sure that we would ever have Pro Extreme cars back on the racetrack. That is probably, I'll tell you, that's the most fun I've had behind the microphone at a drag race. ADRL is where it's at, man. I mean, where else can you see to the 8th mile, 2,450 pounds, screw-blown cars go 216 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds. It's insane. I'm glad that ADRL is back. I'm glad that I was able to be a part of the ADRL. And it just basically happened because I showed up at the racetrack on the qualifying night, for the first ADRL race here. I was like, I got to go. I got to see it in person. And so when I got here, I met Kenny Nowling, the guy that makes ADRL happen. And he was like, hey, I know you. Where do I know you from? And he knew me from me and Al doing work with Midwest Pro Mod Series. And he was like, he handed me a microphone. He said, have at it, kid. And so I got to announce qualifying for ADRL, which I had dreamed about doing since I was a little kid. And then before the end of the night, he gave me an ultimatum. He said, I'll give you a 3-year contract. He's like, you come be the voice of ADRL. Only the second voice that ADRL has ever had. Al Tucci was the first. So to take over Al Tucci's position at ADRL is absolutely huge for me. However, ADRL has 6 races next year. I'm thinking about probably still going to do some of the dirt track stuff next year. But other than that, and I'll also do Speed Video probably, I'm hoping. But other than that, I mean, I will go coast to coast. It doesn't matter. I'm not the most expensive announcer in the world, but I ain't the cheapest. But you can't be that way, And Al Tucci told me that was one of the first pieces of advice he ever got to me. He ever gave to me. He said, "Kid, don't sell yourself short."
Yeah, that's the same thing he told me.
He said, "You have a talent." He goes, "Nobody goes up to Leonardo da Vinci and says, 'Hey, paint me a painting,' and then just Leonardo da Vinci just gives it to you for free. That doesn't happen." And so, I'm not the most expensive. I'm not the cheapest. But I will work something out for you. If you have an event, you're out there listening to the In the Groove podcast with Sam and myself. I bring high energy, high intensity. 10 years of drag racing knowledge at 19 years old seems like a little bit of a stretch, but it's the truth. I promise to you. And but I will, for your marketing partners, I'll be the best voice that your marketing partners could have as far as publicity, getting out there, getting the name out there. So I'm looking to fill in the 2021 calendar and got a few dates that are down so far. But if you're a race promoter out there, if you're a track owner, I will. You can go follow me on Facebook. I have a
look, guys, he's already selling himself. He's jumping ahead of the gun. We haven't even gotten to that part in the show, and he's already just selling himself already. Sold!
Drag racing announcer Colton Jordan on Facebook. Go give it a like, and you can also send me a friend request on my personal page. That's mainly where I am, where I met you, and got talking with you. So just hit me up. I would love to go to the West Coast. I haven't been as far as the West Coast yet. I want to go to the West Coast super bad. So if anybody over there on the West Coast, just give you Texas Boy a holler. I'll be there.
But see, and that's weird, right? You talk about Speed Video, what you're doing with them. I've seen you on Speed Video for, I shouldn't say it like this, but years, it seems like, right? Because Donald's putting on some great events, and I've never been to one of Donald's events. I am a fan of it, of Donald Long. And I'm just going to say this for the record, because I know I'm probably going to get hate mail. Just like I said with the Circle Track guy doing the Krispy Kreme donuts on the starting line and doing that. You have to find what works for you. I'm Slam and Sam. You want to know how I got that name? I ain't going to tell you the story just because it happened at work and the guy kind of made me mad. May or may not have punched him in the face. But I got that name from one of my bosses back in the day, and it stuck with me. I'm Slam and Sam. That's me. You know, everybody has their own thing. And I believe in what Donald's doing because you cannot tell me there's not a grudge racer. There's not a bracket racer. There's not a promoter in the motorsports, especially in the drag racing world, that doesn't know who he is. Because yes, there's some things that I don't agree with, but you can't agree 100% with everyone. But
he's the biggest pot stirrer in drag racing, and he makes it work.
Yes.
He sells tickets, he gets racers, and somehow it makes it all work. I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone. I love Donald. Donald, quick story. Donald's a really great guy. A lot of people, you might see his post on Facebook and you're like, oh, that wasn't probably the right thing to say. But Donald Long in person, there's a Donald Long, the promoter, and then there's a Donald Long, the person. And they're two totally different people. Donald Long, the person, he's great. He's like, and he told me, he was like, whatever I can do for you, come to me. Don't hesitate. Anything that I can do for Speed Video, anything I can do for the racers. If you see a racer in need, let me know. I mean, he was just all in because that's how he makes himself successful. And Duck X production races, they're fun. There's some fast cars out there. There's some stout competition, but man, they are long. It's like 8 or 9 qualifying rounds, and they're long races.
Sometimes, as a race promoter, as a media person, you gotta do something silly. Mad Bro Motorsports is my business. That's my other business. Sometimes you just gotta do something that gets the attention of the racer, and what he's doing is continuing to sell events, continuing to make the purse there. There's not a race that he hasn't been like, well, we're gonna have to shorten the pot because of this and that. But I know there's another good thing about going to Ducks races that I've heard from everybody, and that is that man has some good vendors there with some good food. LS Teca Mexican food located here in Minot, North Dakota on the north side. If you want the best and authentic Mexican food located in Minot, North Dakota, please check out the gang up at LS Teca Mexican food located right near the Minot International Airport. Go up there, try one of the burritos, and I guarantee you will not leave hungry. The best and authentic Mexican food here in Minot, North Dakota, again, that is LS Teca for all your dine-in and dine-out needs. Again, as always, we'd like to thank LS Teca for keeping us full whenever we need it. But Colton, it is that time of the show. We are starting to get to the end. We're about at the 3:30 right now. And this time, it is brought to you by our good folks over at Raise Energy. We cannot thank them enough. This one is the Broken Arrow. So if you're that guy or that girl out there that loves to work out, loves to pump that iron, look good for the summer, or for just those long days that we're all on the track, Raise Energy, Rep Sports, I would say you need to try this. I'm going to be sending Joe Costella some of that hypersleep so he can get some rest when he's on the road with the NHRA. But this is the Lime Ice. What was that?
I need some of that stuff too because my brain never stops working. I'm like Al Tucci. I'm like a hamster all day. It just never stops.
But thanks to the good folks over at Raise Energy and Rep Sports for being the fuel that we need to continue. Just like LS Teca being that fuel that we need, that good food, those good burritos. Do you have a spot or a different track that you love that like has the best food for you whenever you go there? There's a spot that you got to hit up?
Let's see. My home racetrack in Monroe, Louisiana makes the best cheeseburgers that I have ever had at a racetrack. There's also, we have some really good vendors here at the Motorplex, Up in Smoke especially. So I was joking with somebody. I was announcing a race the other day, and or I said the other day, it's been a few weeks ago now. And I just said I'm hungry, and somebody was like, "I'll go down to Up in Smoke and get you some brisket, macaroni, and cheese."
You had me at brisket, lost me at the mac and cheese.
No, listen, hear me out. I said, you got me. Go get. Yes, I will try. When I say to you, it was the best thing that has ever touched my taste buds. It was amazing.
I'm gonna tell you right now, and this goes out to anyone that's listening in the Groove podcast. If you offer me cake, a milkshake, or anything else like that, I'll take it. But for the sanity and for the love of God, that's anyone that's near me, you do not want me to have anything that has dairy in it when I'm out in the sun or I'm at the racetrack all day. So Colton, I'm telling you right now, you had me at brisket, you lost me at mac and cheese for the safety safari of everyone else that is around me.
So, but with me, I get to sit in the air conditioning, during the race. So, the cheese doesn't, mix, too wrong with but I tell you, it was amazing.
Sitting in the air condition, that'd be even worse. Good, fresh, clean air, and then
it makes you sleepy. When you eat good food like that, it just makes you sleepy. But yeah. But it was we have some really good food vendors here. Bristol had very great food. During nationals here, we have people that sell lamb gyros. Oh my God, those are. I mean, they're just. I think racetrack food is the best food, period. But I mean, just because I guess I've lived off of it for 10 years now, but basically, but probably here at the Motorplex, they probably have some of the best food in the country.
No way. I don't think I can do it, like I said. But I know one thing. If I come down to Texas, Texas has, hands down, the best boudin in the world.
No.
If you tell me that you like Louisiana boudin better than you like Texas boudin, here it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, I am telling you right now, Colton Jordan is out of his groove. He's already pulled the chutes. Safety Safari is out on the track. He's looking for the handle for his fire aid system right now, and he cannot find it. Saying that Texas does not have the best boudin in the world is he okay? One more.
Have you ever had Louisiana boudin?
Yes, I don't like
Louisiana so much better, especially Louisiana crawfish boudin.
Oh, no, seafood does not go in boudin. All right, here it is. Right now, I'm going to say it on In the Groove podcast first. You and I are going to do a special edition show that we are going to air for all of our viewers and all of our fans. And we are going to taste Louisiana boudin versus Texas boudin. That is like saying, that's like saying North Dakota has the best seafood. There ain't no way. There's no.
Boudin originated in Louisiana. Boudin was a French cuisine before, Louisiana was actually founded. Louisiana had boudin first, so just throwing that out there.
I'm going to be a Texan right now, and so for Wes Buck, the Elite Motorsports team, Texas did it better. But we are going to get into the Raise Energy rapid fire question rounds. Are you ready?
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Yeah,
all right.
Go ahead. Give it.
So, rules, there are no rules. If you ever seen Mark Caruso and their Fireball Fridays or anything like that, there is no rules, but we try and keep it a little bit more PG here. All right, so question number 1. What is the scariest dream you've ever had?
I was kidnapped by a bunch of robbers and Tucci saved me, which was the scariest part. It was even more scary than the robbers because why was Tucci even there?
He's
everywhere.
Yeah,
he's everywhere.
Al Tucci's like Superman. You just never know where he's just gonna pop up. So he's like Al Tucci is more like, well, where's Waldo? No one knows what he's gonna say.
So you said that about Superman and Al Tucci. See, I picture Al Tucci more like, instead of an S on his chest, he's got a D because his catchphrase would be da 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 da. That's it.
I thought you were gonna say like Captain Underpants. I thought you were gonna say like Captain Underpants or something like that.
That's it.
All right, that was a good answer. Question number 2, since we're talking about the superheroes, these are all random questions. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
That's
He's
scary.
thinking about
That's
it.
a hard. If I can have any superpower.
Rapid fire, man. Come on.
I know I'm not good at rapid fire. Probably to read people's minds, even though I can do that pretty well already. Yeah, I would read people's minds.
No.
Ask any of my friends. Ask any of my friends. I am their shrink. When they have a problem, they come to me. They come to Colton, and Colton solves the problem.
No.
So I can basically read people already. But
there's no way I could do that because I picture things. I am a visual person. Right? If you say the sky was purple, I'm like, okay, the sky was purple.
But the way I look at it is that, see, a lot of people would say, I wanted some kind of power that made me money. But if you could read people's minds, if you got close enough to Mark Zuckerberg or somebody like that, you could just read their mind and how they made all their money and all their ideas, and you can make your own money.
All right. Okay. All right. And one more question for you. We want to know, what is Colton's best joke? So give it to us.
Does it have to be PG?
No, this is in the group podcast. We don't care. We want to know.
Oh, it doesn't have to be PG?
No. What's your best joke?
Okay. And so I'm like the master at joke telling. So this is probably one of my favorite ones. And I apologize to all the Bible Belt people out there. I'm a Bible Belt person myself. I'm going to say an ugly word, and God forgive me in advance. So this guy with a speech impediment walks into this gas station in a little town in North Dakota, and he walks up there. And he goes to the he goes up to the guy at the cash register, and he goes, "Yes, sir." He said, "I need 6 cans of dog food." The guy goes, "Well, sir," he said, "I would love to sell you 6 cans of dog food." He said, "But there's a new regulation with the FDA because homeless people and poor people are coming in, they're buying this dog food, and they're going home and they're eating it, and it's not healthy. So for me to sell you 6 cans of dog food, you have to prove to me that you own the dog." He said, "So you're telling me I got to go back to my house, and I got to get that damn dog, and I got to put him in my truck, and I got to bring him up here just so I get the dog food?" "Yes, sir, that's what I'm saying." He said, "Golly." So he goes back and gets the dog food. A week later, he needs some cat food. So he goes back up to the same convenience store, same guy sitting there at the cash register. He goes, "I need 6 cans of cat food." And that guy was like, "Well, sir, I would love to sell you 6 cans of cat food, but," he's like, "it's the same with the cat food as it is with dog food. You got to prove me that you're on the cat." And he goes, "So you're telling me I got to go out to my barn, and I got to catch that damn cat, and I got to put him in my brand new truck, and I got to bring him up here just like he's cat food?" "Yes, sir, that's what I'm saying." He said, "Golly." And he goes back, gets cat food. Well, about a week later, same guy shows up, same convenience store, same guy sitting there at the cash register, and he's got a shoebox. And it's like, I moved my arm. He's got a shoebox, and he's got a hole in the top of the shoebox about that big around. He goes and sets the shoebox up on the counter, and he goes, "Stick your finger in that hole." He said, "Do what?" He said, "Stick your finger in that hole." He reaches over there, and he goes like this, and he does that like that right there. He goes, "Oh, that smells like shit." That guy goes, "I need 6 rolls of toilet paper."
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Oh God, there's never a dull moment with Colton right there. I was like, okay, where is he kind of going with this? I got a story like that. So since we're talking about jokes, so guy walks into the bathroom, and there's a sign on the bathroom door that says, "Yes, use these 2 fingers." And he goes, "What?" And he goes, "Yes, use these 2 fingers." So he's like, whatever. So he goes and sits in the stall and does his business, and he's looking around. There's no toilet paper. Well, he's like, all right. So he uses these 2 fingers and insert 2 fingers in this side. Well, there's a guy standing on the other side of that hole with 2 bricks. Bang! Smashes his 2 fingers together. What's the one thing you do when you smash your fingers together? You either grab them or put them in your mouth. God damn it. And he does that and wipes them clean. So, yep, there's my story. But Colton, it's been fun. We have now got to the finish line. After smashing that loud pedal, Safety Safari is out on the runway. The parachutes are deployed.
Because I'm on fire. If the Safety Safari's out there, I'm on fire.
And you are not on fire. So to wrap this up, Colton, is there anyone you would like to thank? Like you said, you already sold yourself. If you want to do that again, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, how they can talk to you. If they need you for anything, please let everyone know how to do that.
Well, you can get me on Facebook, Colton Jordan, ColtonJordan, and send me a friend request, or I have the drag racing announcer Colton Jordan page on Facebook as well. I don't update it as much as I should, which is my bad, and I need to do that. But yeah, get a hold of me on Facebook if you're a race promoter, or if you own a racetrack and you need somebody to fill in for this date, or if you own a series or whatever. Just about anything from small tire racing, index racing, bracket racing, doesn't matter. I'll do it all. I would really like to get into monster trucks. So if somebody out there, knows somebody within Monster Jam, hook a brother up. I would be very appreciative of it. But mainly the people that I want to thank you, Sam, first of all, for letting me come on the show. And it's been fun, got a couple of good laughs in there. So thank you. Huge thank you to Al Tucci, because if it wasn't for him mentoring me, I probably wouldn't have made it this far. My parents, they pushed me. My mom was very supportive of me when I first started this deal, driving back and forth for 5 hours one way, to get to the racetrack. She thought I was crazy. She thought I was nuts. And, but she, supported me. She said, hey, if that's what you want to do, go for it. And, but the main people, it's a group of people that I have to thank, are the people that told me I would never be able to do it. Because it's because of those people that I have kept fighting, and I have kept grinding, and I have kept trying to do it just so I could prove to those people that they were wrong. So thank you to those people who told me I would never make it, because if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have.
No, and that's totally awesome to hear, especially that last part, right? The people that have told you can never do it, that you're never gonna, make it, that's just a fake dream, blah, blah, blah. So that's really awesome to see, awesome to hear. But thank you for your time, especially, man. Thank you for coming on. I mean, who is Sam
fun.
Smith? Who is Slammin' Sam? That crazy guy that was in Orlando a couple of months ago, dancing on the starting line. Yep, that's me. I mean, but what else can we do? So yeah, stick around. We're gonna sit here and wrap up the show. Another great episode of In the Groove podcast. Thanks for coming on, Colton.
Thank you, buddy.
And there we have it, guys. Getting to another episode of In the Groove podcast. It was great to have our friend Colton on. So any racetrack promoter or anyone out there that needs someone, you know how to get a hold of Colton. If not, get a hold at me, Outlaw Performance ENT. Guys and girls, it's been another episode of In the Groove podcast. We've been having fun with these. Please stay tuned, subscribe, tell a friend. If you guys have questions, you guys can message them to me at any time. But as always, keep smashing that loud pedal. This has been another episode of In the Groove podcast, brought to you by Bro Motorsports, LS Tech and Mexican Food, and the good folks over at Outlaw Performance ENT. If you haven't done already, please go over and check out all of our social medias. Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, all under outlawperformance.ent. Till next time, you guys keep smashing that loud pedal.